I usually have a title screen for most of my discussions, but I just decided to dive into this one because I really don't want to give this one any more. I guess I don't want to give this thing any more press than it deserves. This is kind of what I heard this morning, that Monica actually clapped back at Patrick Howley, and he actually did make some comments pretty much about Anthony Mackie as well as black people being in country music. I'm going to actually leave the article about this below, so if you guys want to read more about it, you can. And I'm going to actually show you guys a snippet of what was said, not just with Monica, but also what he has said. I got this article from Atlanta Black Star, so AtlantaBlackStar.com. So if you guys want to know further details about Monica's clapback to Patrick Howley, it will be in the description box below for you guys to look at, and definitely check out the website. But here's my perspective on this. It's a given after reading Monica's comments that she's pretty much using this to promote her new country album. Even though I am not a big fan of that type of press, it's press nonetheless. I would be an idiot to say that it wouldn't be business to do it in that way, even though Monica really doesn't need it. But it's a shame that throughout her entire career, she is always, and this is just my opinion here, she's always been in the back burner compared to Brandy. And even during her heyday, and I think it was the mid 90s to maybe early 2000s, she's always been behind someone. And in my opinion, my comparison here is that she's always been taking the backseat to Brandy, just like how Christina Aguilera took a backseat to Britney Spears. Even though Britney Spears had a lot more promotion, she had a lot more, she had a better presentation, even though compared voices that Christina Aguilera is way superior to Britney. And the same thing with Brandy. Brandy's voice, it pales in comparison to Monica, but she's always been behind her because her presentation was way different than how Brandy's was. And the same thing with Christina Aguilera, her presentation was different than Britney's. But I digress on that. Even though I'm not a big fan on how people put, their what they're trying to sell out there by using somebody else's pain or a different kind of controversy or something to promote themselves, this is business nonetheless, even though I don't agree, and I don't think Monica needs it because she is a big talent. But this is how she would get her first country album out there. I just wish it was done another way. I don't think this was done for the black community. I think this was done just for promotional press, just regardless, because this is how I see it. Kings don't acknowledge peasants. Peasants acknowledge them. The same thing with queens. Queens don't acknowledge peasants. Peasants acknowledge them. Now, I know this sounds really mean for calling them peasants, but I'm not. But I'm trying to make a statement here. Anthony Mackie is winning. He's part of the MCU. He's the most known name out there. The guy is practically an A-lister. Did he come out and speak against this? No. And CMT, even though they're staying away from the whole thing, they are supporting Monica and what she's saying. And a whole bunch of people, and I am going to use a wrestling term here, a whole bunch of mid-carders are pretty much coming out and speaking on behalf of Monica. In my opinion, they're just pushing what they're trying to sell. Now, saying someone's a mid-carder does sound insulting, but there are people and there are people in wrestling that have made their entire careers being in the mid-card, and they're good as well as developing notoriety. So it is not in any way, shape, or form an insult to them. But it's a given that you don't see the A-listers speaking out against this. You don't see anybody that has a higher name speaking against this. So when you see a bunch of people that you barely know or know very little about or is kind of in the middle speaking against this, you can tell they're selling something. And that does bother me a bit, but it is business nonetheless. But I'm not going to say that Monica's wrong. I mean, to be honest, there are black people in music. I don't know what Patrick Howley, where he's been, if he's been living under a rock. There have been black artists in country. I mean, in my opinion, the most popular guy happens to be Darius Rucker, because I remember Hootie and the Blowfish. I remember he was in Hootie and the Blowfish. But people now know him for his country career than they did when he was with Hootie. So he was able to transition from that particular genre to country music. You can even say that Nelly did a collaboration with Tim McGraw. And even though he didn't transition to country, he collaborated with a country star. And it was a very successful song. So it is possible for a black artist to transition from whatever genre they're in to country music. It can happen. So I don't know where this guy, I don't know where he's been, but I wouldn't even give it any type of thought. It is nothing to even be angry about or fuss about or rage about. It's not. This guy is in the minor leagues. People are not going to know him in T-minus 2 seconds. Nobody's going to remember this guy. And I doubt he's going to get notoriety from this. I don't think this is anything that people need to talk about or even give 2 cents to. And I know I'm doing it here, but I'm just putting my perspective out there. But this guy he's a meh. Like, he's not even a meh. It's not even worth being mad about. It's not. But when you see people speaking about something I consider so minor, yeah, I feel like they're selling something, but they're not wrong either. So I guess this is a kind of an odd discussion, but I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this. How do you feel about Monica pretty much using this controversy to promote her album? How do y'all feel about that? Now, like I said, she's not wrong in what she said, but I'm wondering how people feel about how she's selling her album. Do you think it's a shill? Do you think there was a better way of her to do this? I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it. Leave in the comments below. Let me know how you feel. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.